Alright, hello and welcome everybody, this is Ace, and in the previous video we had a couple of things that we wanted to figure out. Namely, I wanted to see if the tanks are going out of their way to get aggro off of hunter pets, and what I mean by going out of the way is if they would taunt it off, or would they just perform a normal rotation. What I want them to do is just do the normal rotation and not taunt, because I see pets as kind of a, I don't know, I mean, they're fine to take a hit, right? They're fine to tank a little bit. Even if they go down, they can be revived, so it's not a big deal. And they actually do alleviate some stress from the group, so that's very important. But what I want to know is, if we are in a situation where, let's say, a squishy is being attacked and a pet, what I expect the tank to do is to go and peel off from the squishies with taunts and everything, and then you know, just maybe attack the mobs who are attacking the pet for aggro, or just to hold aggro on them. I'm not really sure, but basically they shouldn't really be desperate to get the NPCs off of the pet. The pet should be able to tank, and you have the option, we'll talk more about this when we see the hunter, but you have the option to change the hunter's pet, so you can have the hunter use a crab or a bear or something else that's tanky. The pets do have talents. I'm not sure if you can inspect that or not. No, maybe not, right? But they do have talents, and depending on the pet, I mean, I can't really show you, that's kind of the problem. But depending on the pet, some pets have spec'd into more armor, and some pets spec'd into more health, or just a mix of both. If you look at something like a crab or a turtle, they usually go well, I mean, they prioritize getting their damaging spells. We'll talk more about that when the time comes. So what I want to do is I want to get some aggro from this guy, and then I'm going to hire one tank, and I want to see what he does. What I expect him to do is I expect him to come peel off this guy off of me, and then go attack this other guy. Just, oh, come on, man, come back. Who told you can leave? You are recruited into my test here. Okay, so let's see what happens. I expect him to peel off me and then go to the pet in that order. Actually, let's pause the warrior here for a second, because I want to set the bug on so we can see what he's actually casting. But we can see he's already looking at the guy. Let's get his attention back. The warrior is paused at the moment. So let's even go a little bit further than say where the bear is, so we don't blame distance or anything. Okay, so let's unpause and see what happens. Exactly, he came here. I expect him to taunt. He taunted, perfect. Hold on, let me keep this guy alive. Perfect. Right, and now he's going back there. He's going for this guy, and he's doing the demoralizing shout, devastate, all the jazz, but he did not taunt, right? His taunt should be off cooldown. He's still attacking the bear, but you notice the warrior is not taunting off. It's kind of hard to know whom this guy is attacking. Alright. So the warriors are programmed to go in the face of whatever they're attacking, so that's why he's moving with the bear. Just because the mob is attacking the bear and the tank wants to be in the front of the mob, that's why he's kind of sitting under the bear. But I presume that he's actually attacking the same thing that's attacking the bear. Probably just so he can get aggro and to stabilize his percentage aggro across. So I think that's fine. Let me get another guy, right? So now he's busy with that, and if I get aggro from somebody else, I expect the tank to come and peel it off me. Perfect. That's exactly what he does. I expect him to taunt if he needs to, because yeah, you see he's using demoralizing shout as he's moving, so he's basically trying to generate aggro while he's on the move, right? Because he cannot reach the target, the guy who is attacking me, but he can still well, he's like, yeah, I have attackers on me and I'm trying to reach this guy, and I have attackers on me, so I might as well just keep generating aggro on them while I'm on the move, just to make sure they stay on him. Let me get another guy. Let me even attack him a little bit. Yep, here he comes. He's still generating threat with... There we go. He intervened and he taunted. Perfect. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. And then he goes back there because he's like, my threat percentage on the Scarlet Warrior is still too low. Need to build more threat. So I think that's fine. I'm okay with the pets going down. I'm okay with them being a distraction. I'm okay with them being an extra body. If you play any CRPGs and you know, use classes with pets, that's kind of one of the advantages of it, because you have an extra body that's soaking up some damage. The pets, they'll get revived, they'll be fine after the battle. That's cool. Man, we saw this, in fact, in the previous video when the hunter's pet was peeling off quite a number of the mobs attacking the group, and that was alleviating some stress from the tank, who didn't have consecration or any AoE. So yeah, the pet helps. That's great. And there you go. I mean, this is my pet. He's not really looking to attack too much. But he re-established aggro, and now he's just holding all the guys. He's not stressing. He saved the town for when it's actually needed to save a squishy target. That's great. That's great. I'm okay with that. So we can cross that off the list. I am okay with that. We also had another experiment that we wanted to run. And we're gonna do this, let's say, on the recording, just so we can do it together. So you can see yourself, maybe you're curious, or... Because I was gonna do this anyway, so if we do it together, maybe you're caught up with what I'm doing. So what I want to test now, I was asking yesterday if healers and casters should remove Paladin bubble. The question was, can the healer still heal and can the caster still cast, or does the bubble just reduce your attack speed? Because I saw something about attack speed in the specifics of the spells, right? So let me look for Blessing of Protection or Divine Shield, whichever, it doesn't really matter. But let's go Blessing of Protection. Let's go on the Mage, just so we can test casting, and then we'll also test healing. Well, actually I could have gone on the healer, couldn't I? Yeah, on the healer, on the priest. Yeah, we can use a priest for multi-purpose. Okay, so I'm going to bubble myself, and then I'll see if I can smite the target and if I can heal myself in the process. So cast self, this ID is for the blessing. Triggered means don't care about nothing, just cast it. And I have cast it on myself. It's for 7 more seconds. And lo and behold, I can smite. That's cool. And I can also heal myself. Perfect. Well, we already knew that you can heal yourself because the paladins obviously can do it. So, which means that in my logic here, I need to go back and I say, hey, if you're trying to dispel the bubble, which you should, as a melee DPS. So I guess if you're a tank, I need to think about this, I suppose. Let me find the code. Where is it? Right. Okay, so I suppose dispel immunity aura, and it's the only thing it's looking for in particular if you have more than 75% HP and if you don't have attackers, right? Which obviously you shouldn't have, because when you bubble yourself, you lose aggro, which is, I guess we should also test this just to see if that actually is the case. But it probably is, most likely is. You just lose, you reset the aggro, you lose the aggro. But still, I should mention here, if you're a healer or a caster, then don't bother, right? We can just add that, let's say in the broad terms, like if... okay, hold on. It's gonna take a little bit of tweaking. Okay, so I'm saying, hey, if a role is healer, okay, so if role is healer or range DPS, then don't dispel it, right? Which leaves the tanks and the melee DPS. So even if they're if the healer is at full HP or something, or the range DPS full HP, don't bother with them. If we look at the specifics, well, it doesn't really show. But the Paladins actually have a talent which says that if you have that talent, I don't have it in front of me. If you have that talent, then you no longer get attack speed reduced when you have the either one of these bubbles, which only leads me to believe it's related to attack speed. So let's do it just like that in simple terms, and if it turns out to be not correct, then we'll adjust it as necessary. I'll have to restart the server so I can apply this. And then we'll go test out the Paladin healer as the next one on the bucket list. All right, that should be fine. Let's go with the Paladin again. You know what? Let's try a different dungeon, just because the Paladin healer doesn't really have that much, let's say, to talk about, or too crazy things. Let me look for WoW vanilla dungeon quest, because I want to see what levels do we need for the next dungeon. The next one would be Wailing Caverns, and it's about level 20, I would say. Can probably do it at 18. But again, just because they're doing it in 4, I don't want to... You know what? Let's do it just for the giggles. Let's say 18. I think the highest level in the dungeon is 24, which is quite high. But here's a secret here. Hold on. Let me think about it. What are we doing? We're testing the Paladin healer, so let's get the warrior tank again. I'm trying to keep the lineup as close to the same one we're using, so we eliminate the variance there. So we're gonna get the Paladin guy, and we're gonna get a hunter guy, and we're gonna get the rogue guy. Now the rogues, historically speaking, are pretty good at fighting high level targets because they get precision, right? So this is about the time when rogues start putting points into precision, which is one of the reasons why I, in my debate on whether to build them on assassination or combat, I just lean more towards combat, for the very reason that while leveling, attack speed is actually very useful. And not just for the rogues, but for all the classes in general. And I would say it's even worth prioritizing. Of course, Slice and Dice is extremely good as well. It's very annoying to keep Slice and Dice up if you don't have these talents, so these are important. Let's see how to get to Wailing Caverns. Oh, perfect. That we're just inside. I don't remember all the juicy bits about this dungeon, and I don't have an Atlas loot, so it's very possible that I would get lost in here. Let me mark everybody and to turn stuff on. Okay, so let's set debug on the Paladin. Actually, I kind of wish I would have picked, I would have set them to level 20. I don't know at what level they get. Let me X init healer. I don't know at what level they get consecration, but it's a little bit bland when they don't have it. And actually the healer paladins are supposed to use consecration to help with DPS in AoE situations as well. Oh, look, this is exhibit number, I don't know, 2, 3 for why the paladins are great in TPC. Like, this passive is very nice, right? Regen, get more mana based on the amount you're being healed for. That's very good. So he doesn't have consecration. It's probably at level 20 or so. Let me look for the code. We talked a little bit about the Paladin in the previous video, about his buffing poop, so we're not gonna go over it again unless it's something that's worth mentioning. He did cast Blessing on everybody, so that's great. I think one particular difference between the healers in TPC and the ones in vanilla, as far as the code is concerned, though it's a, well, actually I guess I haven't really done this to the Paladin, but maybe I should. Hold on, give me a second to look at this. So first he's going to try to find a target to heal that's below 75% HP. You're going to be able to modify that threshold as well. He's also looking for okay, so the thing is, the Paladins being one of the first classes I worked on, later on I kind of made some changes to the healer, starting with the priest, where I said something like, hey, I want to stagger the heals a little bit more, as in the code everything is executed sequentially, right? So in the order that I write this code in, this is how they'll, like, you can think of it as their spell priority, right? So let's say in the spell priority, at the very top, at the very top, they have something, they have a lot of defensive casts, right? Stuff like cast Divine Shield on yourself, and you saw the Paladin yesterday. He shielded himself, and then he shielded the priest, right? If you remember yesterday, towards the end there, in that one fight where they wiped. So he shielded himself, then he shielded the priest, and then he stunned around and stuff like that. So at the very top of their priority list, they are trying to cast defensive abilities and peels. And they also have dispels particular to the paladins, but also the dispels are staggered, as in they have priority dispels or priority dispel logic and lower priority, let's say, dispel logic, as in at the top of their priority list, they try to dispel things that are hard CCs. Think of it like stuns, fears, blinds, all the sort of thing, polymorphs, all the sorts of things that would hard CC a target. So they would really prioritize doing that. And then somewhere at the bottom of their logic, like at yeah, pretty close to their bottom, they have like lower priority where they do just, you know, just dispel anything, like stuff like poison or I don't know, whatever else, diseases. I'm not sure if they can do diseases, but they do poisons and whatnots, right? So this is the sort of thing that I'm trying to do more in TBC. But with the later classes that I worked on, I staggered their heals a little bit more. For example, for the priest, at the very top, I said, hey, look for targets to heal that are below 50% HP. And after that, there's a whole bunch of this defensive casting. And then I said, hey, then look for a target that's below 75% HP. and then there's a bunch of AoE or damaging stuff or some miscellaneous spells and whatnot. And at the very bottom I say, hey, look for any target to heal, even if he's like, I don't know, 99.9% HP. However, he's only gonna do that while fighting bosses, so not at any time, because I would still like for him to won and stuff like this, but I didn't apply that sort of staggering to the Paladin, at least to the very top. So I look at the code and I see at the very top I didn't give him the 50% heal, and probably maybe I did this intentionally because the Paladins have all of these defensive moves like Divine Shield, Lay on Hands, right? And these actually require you to be very low HP. If you think about Lay on Hands, then yeah, you basically have to be almost dead. And you saw yesterday the Paladin used it correctly, and I actually enjoyed that because first he shielded himself, then he Blessing of Protection the priest, then when he ran out of mana he laid on hands, and he ran out of mana and he was almost dead, he laid himself on hands. If you are just in that fight, you could have made the difference and yeah, probably won that fight. So give me a second there and then we'll start the dungeon and see how this goes. I'm not very familiar with all of the dungeons, so I hope I don't get myself lost. I think first we have to go left and then right, but we'll see. Give me a second. Actually, I just reminded myself of something. I said if you're a ranged DPS, don't dispel the Paladin bubble, but I didn't really think about the Hunters. I mean, they are ranged DPS, but they're not actually casting spells, so I guess I'll just make a little note here on my to-do list. So when dispelling bubbles, check if Hunters can still shoot, aka range RDPS. Yeah, just a note for myself, so I'll check this out later. So let's get started with this dungeon and see where we go. Did I set the poopy thing on or did I not set debug on? Alright, well I did set it on. Yeah, he was not healing just because there was no need for healing to be sent out. You do notice that the Paladin is actually attacking now, right? And this is kind of what I'm trying to do with all the healers. So let's reset this. This is from yesterday, I think. Or no, it's actually from today. Cool. Let's just do a big ol' reset. And if you look at the Paladin, it's the guy with the green mark here, Aliyah here. And you can see she's attacking. And if you also look at her gear, you see that she's using a shield and all of her gear is mail, as opposed to on vanilla where I gave them like whatever. Like if it has caster stats, I said in vanilla you can use it, even if it's cloth or something like that, but not in TBC. In TBC I want them to be a little bit more involved and actually attack things. And you see he's actually contributing. And look, I'm not in this fight and I'm not contributing to anything, and this extra little damage this healer is doing, it's not bad, right? It's not bad at all. And I see that he's healing mostly out of combat, which is correct, out of combat. Again, you'll be able to set these thresholds if you don't agree with me. I'm not particularly, yeah, I'm giving you the option. If some people don't like this much healing, I don't know, suit yourself. But also that needs to be tested. I haven't really tested the thresholds because I integrated them in my own thresholds and it kind of made them dynamic to what I'm doing. So it's a little bit strange. Maybe I won't go over that at the moment because it's a bit technical, let's say. Maybe I should test it on my own. But basically you should be able to set your thresholds And they should sort of respect like the staggering that I've done with the logic as well. Or at least that's what I'm trying to do, or that's the main idea. So yeah, the Paladin is still contributing. There's not a lot of healing that needs to go out. Yeah. Again, the Hunter doing Hunter things. I see he laid down a trap. I guess he got traps now. A cool thing about the Hunters in TPC is that they... Oh! There you go. Hunter got Scare Beast. He's supposed to... Like, all the fears are supposed to be used when whomever is being attacked, so a non-tank is being attacked and is below 50% HP. And I think the Hunter in this situation was. Again, you have to decide on your own if you want to deny fears and stuff like that. I know some people don't like fears and they deny them. I personally think they're absolutely fine if you don't just right click every pack of mobs and you pull a little bit back. Then yeah, even if the target gets feared, where is he gonna get feared? If he gets feared over here, what's he gonna do? Nothing. He's just gonna roam around. It's gonna be fine. So it kind of depends. But fears are very strong crowd control, so of course they should be used. Okay, so I see the Paladin is healing. Strangely enough, okay, so I think the Paladin's got a little bit of a nerf in TPC in regards to elimination, because it doesn't... it says that you gain mana equal to 60% of the base cost of the spell. In vanilla it used to be 100%, and you can actually feel that. I do get the impression, at least from my, let's say, limited testing so far, that the Paladins are not as mana efficient as they used to be in vanilla. Also probably because they use all this randomized gear, so they don't have any specialized gear where they build for critical chance or anything like that. They, you know, they get what they have, but I think that talent nerf is impacting them to some degree, because they're not as efficient as I remember them from vanilla. But you know, it is what it is. You may see him... Oh, he also used Lay on Hands. That's cool. I'm not sure where I'm going. Yeah, I'm just gonna go left, and then we're gonna go right and hope it works out. Let's see. He's using Hammer of Justice to peel. That's correct. This is like shared logic between the Paladins. So anything to do with peeling... Oh, this is a boss type. Let's get him. Get him, boys. So anything to do with shielding, peeling, divine intervention, cleansing, priority cleansing, dispelling, yeah, and even Avenger's Shield. This is all common logic, so they all do this, right? So if you see the Paladin tank peeling and doing Blessing of Protection and some such, then the other guys will do it as well. And it should be pretty similar in when they do it. You may also notice that the Paladin is doing down ranking. So if you look at the Holy Light ranks, you see all sorts of ranks. The thing about down ranking is pretty important to do it, because the lower ranks cost... well, they cost less mana, obviously, but they're actually more efficient, as in how much healing are you putting out for how much mana are you paying for it, right? That's what I mean by efficiency. So the lower ranks are efficient. And actually a pretty good example, because I was testing the other day some of the down ranking. I was trying to figure out how to make them down rank more efficiently, let's say. And one particular, like, here's an example. Let's say that I was half HP and this guy had to figure out what ranks to use. And let's say he would use something like rank 8 Holy Light, right? Because what they're trying to do is they use the highest rank of a spell that cannot fully heal the target. So if I'm missing 1000 HP and they got let's say Holy Light rank 7, just an example, rank 7 would heal for 999 and rank 8 would heal for 1001, then they would use rank 7, because they use a rank that cannot fully heal the target. And that way they actually mitigate quite a lot like overhealing. And if you look at overhealing, you see he's only done 86 overhealing, and it's probably from some crit or whatever. And if you look at healing done, he's healed for almost 4,000, and out of that 4,000 he overhealed 86. Right, so this is what I mean. They are very, very frugal with their ranks spent and their mana spent. And here's a concrete difference. Let's say that I was at half HP and he would have to figure out how to heal me. So he has two options, or at least he had two options. He could either use a rank 8, and then for the remainder he would use a rank 4, or he could use a rank 8 and then a rank 3 and then a rank 1. And you might ask yourself, what's the difference? Well, here's the difference. The difference is, if in the first option, when he goes with rank 8 and rank 4, he would heal me to full HP much faster. However, he would overheal as well. He would spend more mana to do it. And in the second option, it would take him longer to heal me because he has to cast 3 spells, even though the lower ranks are quicker to cast, but he will need to spend more time healing me, but it would be more mana efficient. And you could also make arguments about mana per 5, whatever. I don't think it's... We can talk about that separately some other time, because we'll just get distracted. But nonetheless, this is the deal, right? So I told them, yeah, go for option number 2. Go for the more efficient ways of getting the target healed, to save as much mana as possible. And you might say, well, isn't healing fast important? Well, yes, but here I'm not talking about the situation when someone's dying, right? Because if you have to use a rank 8, a rank 3, and a rank 1, obviously, right, because they prioritize who they're going to heal based on how much HP someone is missing in the group, for example. And there is more to this, because I actually added a couple of, let's say, fake multipliers, quote unquote fake, meaning what? Meaning I added some multipliers based on who is the target. For example, is he healing a tank? Because let's say a tank and let's say a warrior tank and a rogue are both missing 1,000 HP, and then who do you heal first, right? Oh, whichever comes first in the list. No, there have to be a choice. There has to be a choice there. There has to be a difference. Like, what's the difference between healing the tank first and the rogue first? I presume that you care about the tank more than you care about the rogue. I mean, obviously you don't want the rogue to die either, but if you had to choose one of them to heal first, they might as well just choose the tank. And the way to make them prioritize that, because I try multiple let's say implementations of this, but the one that I found to work the best was to add weights. As in, I said, well, I increased the amount they're missing by a fake 5%, right? So I said, hey, if he's a tank and he's missing 1,000 HP, then add a 5% multiplier to that, right? So it would be 1,050 or something like that. And there are more multipliers. Okay, what if you're a player? If you're a player, then you add another 5%. What if you're being attacked? If you're being attacked, then you add another 5%, right? Which is why this is also in vanilla, by the way. So this is why if you play a tank yourself in vanilla, you'll notice, and you're being attacked as well, you'll notice the companions prioritize healing you above everybody else. Which is why when I was tanking myself when we were doing progression on the server, I was always the first one to be healed, and almost always the last one to die as well, right? Everybody else would die before I would, and people were joking that I'm cheating. Well, I'm not cheating. It's just that they really try to figure out, or they try to give more importance to the things that matter. And from my experience, I have to do this, especially for the players. And I think actually for the players, it's even higher. I don't know it off the top of my head. I suppose I can look at it while I'm talking. But for the players, okay, I have it now in my face. So for the players, they're not adding just the 5%, they're adding 25%. Why do I do this, right? Because you'll be like, yeah, but isn't that fake? Yeah, it is fake. Here's why it's important to work like this. Because the players in general or at least in the old system, they didn't really use that many consumables, and what would happen is that the companions would come with titans, with elixirs of fortitude, with food and all that jazz, and would have very high health pools on top of them having perfect gear and just perfect enchants and perfect everything. So they had very high pool amounts, which means players who usually didn't use consumables, they would, like, as soon as they would take damage, they would be like almost dead, right? And even so, the companions would still prioritize healing the other companions, because, you know, they just had more HP, and even if they took a lot of damage, they would still have very high percentage of life in total. So yeah, that's why I had to give some pretty significant bonuses to make sure that they prioritize healing players, and it does work that way, right? So they had 25% fake bonus for real people, another 5% for being a tank, another 5% if you're being attacked, another 5% if you're a healer. Obviously, like, you can group up a lot of these bonuses, and you can get some pretty significant advantage to being healed. In practice, it does work out pretty well. So you will see oftentimes the healers, if even amongst the companions, do prioritize healing the tanks and healing the healers, right? And then the DPS is kind of like just hanging on. But the DPS, I kind of expect them to take care of themselves as well. For example, I added logic for a lot of things, a lot of disengaging abilities, a lot of peeling abilities, like for example, rogues. They know how to blind, they get gauge, I don't know, one of those. They can vanish, they can feint, I think it's called, or something like that, that reduces threat to whomever is attacking. Priests have that as well. So every class has some kind of defensive moves. So I kind of expect the DPS guys to take care of themselves. And, well, even before that, I kind of expect the player to control the companions and, you know, do a pull, right? Like, don't just right click every pack of mobs inside a dungeon. Do a pull back, control what you're attacking, and give enough time for the tanks to establish aggro and all that stuff. So that's important. But yeah, so that's how they prioritize healing. They look at who's missing HP, how much are they missing, and then they check. They just get the lowest HP target, considering also these fake multipliers, and they look through all their spells to see if they have a rank of a spell that cannot fully heal the target. But also considering the health threshold, right? Because I told you I stagger the heals, and they heal based on threshold. For example, the Paladin's first threshold is at 75%. So unless somebody is like at 75% or below, they're not even going to bother healing, because if I allow for that, well, unless they're fighting a boss, right? When you're fighting a boss, I think it's a little bit different, and you should be on your toes all the time. But in general gameplay, I don't think you need to be that strict. So you see, that allows the Paladin to auto attack, and yeah, he's doing 7% of the damage. I mean, that's a little bit of extra something, right? And later on, when he knows consecration and more stuff like that, then he's going to contribute even more. So every little bit helps. But there's a difference between, right, because I was giving you the example of the rank 8 and rank 4 versus rank 8, rank 3, and rank 1. This is something that they do in combat, but out of combat, for example, if I was to take, I don't know how much damage I can take here, maybe like 300, right? You see that he's gonna heal me. However, he's not gonna go for option B in this case. In this case, out of combat, he would go for option A, and he would use a rank 8 and a rank 4, even though it's less mana efficient. Why? Because I consider that out of combat, you need to, you know, just get it on with as fast as possible. There's no time to try to be too frugal with the mana, just because you can drink, and also because you need to get a move on. And also, the healers will not heal the other companions out of combat, because the other companions are just going to eat and drink on their own. They're just going to heal you. Whether you have it doesn't matter what role, as long as the companion is a healing class, right? So if you have a paladin tank or a paladin DPS, they're still going to try to heal you out of combat, but they do check to see if there's an actual healer in the group. Why? Because the actual healer is gonna get the job done a lot quicker. So if I let the melee DPS start sending heals out, then you're gonna be there for quite a while, aren't you? Especially when you're buffed up in some raid or dungeon, you have a lot of stamina buffs and all that. It's gonna take too long. So we let the healers do the job and that sort of thing. This is a magic effect. I'm not sure if they're purity. Removing one disease and one poison effect, so sadly it's not as good as cleanse is. He has used it to remove some poison, I guess. These snakes do poison. But he cannot remove magical effects. Later on he'll be able to do it, but when he gets cleanse. It's also nice to open these chests because they may contain gear, and you saw that the companions are using the gear. Well, if it's something they can actually utilize, of course. I think another important thing to mention about how healing works is that the companions look at all the other healing that's being done on the target they're trying to heal. So let's say that I was eligible for healing right now, and he's like, yeah, this guy is missing 300 HP, and what he would do is, you see that he overhealed me because he used a rank 2. If this was in combat, he would be using a rank, probably rank 3 in a rank 1, right? But now, because we're out of combat, he's like, yeah, I don't care, I'm just gonna get the job done. Obviously, don't use like 2 rank 3s or something like that for no reason. I mean, there's no, because you still need to drink. Right now I gave them cheats, so they automatically regen their life and mana, so don't care. But if they were just to use rank 3 all the time, out of combat, then you just wait longer for them to drink and recoup their mana. So that would not be a good idea. But I was saying that they do look at all the other healing effects that are going on a target. So let's say if I was missing 1000 HP, for example, and maybe you were a healing player yourself, and you would throw a heal on me that's worth, let's say, 500, then the bot would actually recognize that. He knows exactly for how much you heal and how much healing is going on me at the moment, and he would use a heal that the first rank of a heal that cannot heal 500. So if he had a rank down heal 450, he would use that one, right? So he would account for what healing you're doing, not just what healing he's doing. So that's one way the companions coordinate in raids and large groups, right? They just know how much healing is done on a target. And also, I think, if I remember correctly, I have to check, but what they also try to do, no, I'm sure about this, right? I'm sure about this. What they try to do, for example, let's say that you're a priest and you're throwing a greater heal on me, and let's say he's also a priest. What do you think is he gonna do? Is he going to also throw a greater heal on me, or is he going to throw a flash heal on me? He's going to throw a flash heal on me. Why is that? Because he detects that somebody else is healing the target, and he considers that, listen, if we both throw a greater heal on this target, it's possible, because greater heal takes what, 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds to cast. So it's possible that, not just possible, it's likely that in that 3 second or 2.5 second window, because most creatures and most bosses attack, they have an attack speed of 2 seconds or less, and they have other abilities. So it's possible that in those 2.5 seconds or whatever it takes to cast a slow heal, that the target may die. So if you're throwing, or somebody else is throwing a big heal, or somebody else is healing at all, he's like, no, now I'm gonna use just fast heals so I can get the target healed up as quickly as possible. And this is really, this makes a lot of difference, especially in raids when like shit hits the fan. If you've ever done on the vanilla server like any raids where it's like really close, like I don't know, they're not overpowering the content or something like that, where you're doing sort of progression, this is where it plays, where it makes the most difference. However, it, of course, obviously, by doing flash heals and whatnot, you are being less mana efficient, right? So that is still a reality. But they are still calculating everything, so they're still using the lowest rank, right? They know that you're healing for 500, so they're still looking for a rank of a heal that cannot heal the remaining HP, right? So they're still trying to be efficient, but this is a way in which they actually managed to keep the tanks alive. Before I did this, as a matter of fact, it used to be very sketchy, and I used to play a healer myself. I did progression on the vanilla server as a healer, and it's one of the things that I recognize, and I didn't realize that until I played the healer myself and I healed through all the raids, that this was an actual issue, because when I started playing a healer myself, I actually managed to beat them in healing done, and it was only possible because I recognized that they're always throwing the slow heals out, and I was just sniping the targets with flash heals. That's all I was casting, flash heals all the time, and that allowed me to snipe them. And you might think, well, if you're sniping them, doesn't that mean they're wasting mana when you know, their greater heal is actually going through? And yes, but it depends, because I wrote a little bit of piece of logic that says, hey, look at how much heal your current heal is doing on a target. So if the target is being healed in the meantime while he's casting, you know, he calculated correctly to begin with when he started casting it, but later down the road, maybe the target used a healing potion, maybe somebody else healed them, whatever, right? And they're like, hey, all along the way, they calculate to see if the current heal they're putting out is worth at least 50% of its heal value, right? So he's not wasting more than 50% of the heal. 50% is still a lot, but it's still important in some situations that, you know, because otherwise you, of course, you're wasting your mana by letting 50% of the heal being wasted. But if you didn't do this, then you'd be wasting your time. And I think in combat, between your mana and your time, probably your time is more important, because you could let the heal go through, let the 50% mana be wasted, but now you don't have to worry about that guy, whomever it was that you are healing, and now you're looking at potentially somebody else who critically needs healing, as opposed to, oh, I'm wasting 50% mana, let me stop, and now I have to cast another heal that's, you know, like a lot weaker, and so you've already spent like a second or two casting beforehand, and now you need to spend another 2 seconds casting a new spell, and it's like everybody else is screaming, hey, I need healing, healer, what the fuck, man, right? So this is at least how I viewed it. Obviously, again, the consequence of all of these choices is that you are a little less mana efficient, but I tried to make the mana efficient where I thought it made more sense, in like actually calculating what rank you need to put out and stuff like that, rather than risking people dying, basically. And I think this is even more important and relevant when it comes to healing players, actual players. And you might be wondering, hey, if I'm giving this fake HP stuff when I'm deciding what whom to heal, doesn't that affect what rank of the heal is he going to use? No, it's not. They're separate things, right? So even if I say, hey, this tank is maybe in reality he's missing 1000 HP, and I say, oh, he's actually missing 2000 HP, just giving an exaggerating example. No, he's actually still going to use the first rank of a heal that that's gonna heal for less than 1000. So that's still working correctly. So that's kind of like the gist of what I try to do with the healers. It's not at low level. You don't really have a lot to look for in their let's say rotations. He's mostly just gonna auto attack when he's got nothing to heal. You'll see when we're fighting a boss, he's probably gonna heal all the time, and he's not gonna be auto attacking, right? So I said, yeah, heal to 100% only when you're fighting a boss. That's like the pen ultimate logic before the auto attack is, right? So the auto attack would be like the final thing when literally have nothing else to do, might as well just auto attack. But if I'm fighting a boss, then he's like, no, I'm gonna heal to 100% everybody because I don't know what's going on. And actually I should mention something about the way he's attacking, because he's not... Oh, he got slapped. Oh, very cool one. I hope you noticed that. He got he got put to sleep, and then he broke the sleep by using divine prayer or shield, whatever. He used his own bubble, right? So I wrote that in as well, so the companions will look to use effects that can break them out of CC. So you think something like an undead getting feared and he's gonna use Will of the Forsaken. The Paladin getting stunned or put to sleep and he's gonna break out with using the bubble. And a mage getting stunned is gonna break out using Ice Block and stuff like that, right? And look, that sleep would have lasted for 10 seconds. In these 10 seconds, someone could have died. 100% could have died. If this was a large pool, someone could have died. So I consider that to be a worthy exchange. Yes, he's going to miss his shield, but whatever, man. At least, you know, you don't have to die and then spend the time walking back to the instances and all that jazz. You can just maybe just pull a little bit careful, knowing that his bubble is down, so you're maybe seeing stuff or pulling back a little bit and all that jazz. But again, in these situations, I'm trying to push them to the limit to see where they break and if they do all the correct things. And as far as I can see, yeah, they're doing the correct things. He's also gonna use Blessing of Freedom. I'm not sure if I have an opportunity to show you in this dungeon. He mostly uses Blessing of Freedom on tanks. So the way he's gonna do that is gonna look at the tank and he's gonna ask, is the tank being slowed by an effect that I cannot remove with my cleanse, right? If he has cleanse. So if I cannot remove it with the cleanse, maybe I should consider doing Blessing of Freedom. Is the tank moving? Yes. Is the tank being slowed by something like a hamstring? Yes. Can the tank not reach the target, his victim? Yes. Can I not dispel it with the cleanse? Yes. Okay, then I'm gonna use Blessing of Freedom. So that's pretty cool. It's saying failed here probably because he got silenced or something like that. That happens sometimes. Oh, he put me to sleep. There's nobody to release. But you see, the sleep lasts for like 12-13 seconds. That's a long time. That is a long time, especially if you're finding a large pack of mobs. I don't know if at this level anybody can cleanse this. I don't remember at which level the paladins get their cleanse. Fun fact about the rogue, even though we'll look at the rogue later. The rogue has a chance to, when you initialize him, he has a chance to spawn with either maces, swords, daggers, and I forgot if there's something else. But one of these, right? And the cool part is that I try to do it dynamically based on what weapon is he using, right? Because when you come down here, you can have mace specialization, sword, fist specialization, dagger specialization, whatever. So he's gonna invest in one of these specializations based on what weapons he's actually using. However, there's one caveat, and maybe I won't change it, maybe I'll leave it like this just for the giggles. He can actually upgrade his weapon into something other than his current specialization. I'm not sure if that's correct. I'm not sure if that's particularly a good thing to do. Uh, it kind of depends, right? Because if you find a really good kick-ass dagger, for example, you have this level 9 mace and you're level 18, so that's a pretty big deal. So then imagine that some blue level 18 dagger drops here. And I think that dagger basically would make more of this difference than whatever benefit you're getting from the talents. At least that's my gut feeling. I didn't calculate this. I could be wrong. I don't know. Let's do something here and yeah, just prioritize the order in which they will attack this, right? So what we need to do by default, okay, so tanks never have a focus mark by default, but DPS do have skull. So what I want to do, again, I don't want the tank to have any focus mark at all. Actually, for the giggles, let's give the tank a focus mark just so we can exemplify this. Let's mark this guy with a diamond. Let's give, hold on, let's say, how to do this correctly. Let's say cross on the rogue and on the hunter, and you see it just adds it on to whatever they have, so they already had skull by default. Let's give diamond to the tank, and you see the only mark that is on his list is diamond right now. And yeah, that's it. And now what I expect to do, because these snakes are not strong at all, they're very weak. Actually, hold on. Let's do something different. Let's say I want the hunter to focus cross and then skull. The rogue is gonna go skull and then cross. So I expect each of them to pick one of these snakes off. I want the tank to go straight for the boss. And I kind of expect the healer to always heal up to 100% because we're fighting a boss. Or are we fighting a boss? Hold on. We are fighting a boss, right? Alright, let's see if it works out or not. It does work out. Exactly like that. Perfect. Exactly, perfect. Right, so you can definitely use CC marks and focus marks to make sure you're getting the job done. It definitely helps in many situations. Maybe not here, this was an easy fight. But in many other situations, this could really make the difference. And you see the healer is just healing all the time, right? Because we're fighting a boss and the heal to 100% logic supersedes the attack logic, even though they're both at the bottom of his logic stack, let's say. Wow, this is a very nice pair of pants. I bet a bunch of them will pick it up. There you go. There you go. That's very nice. Cool. I think we're done with this part. Let's go into the other side of the dungeon. Again, I'm not very familiar with Wailing Caverns. It's a pretty confusing dungeon, but yeah, I'm just trying to test mostly the logic. I think Emil already tested all of these dungeons and he said they work. He has some videos posted, so yeah, I just want to see if there are any glaring issues like there were in RFC with the falling under the map type of deal. That's mostly what I care about in these dungeons. But you can see they can handle it just fine. And the hunter is still top DPS. I don't know. But again, it depends on whatever gear they have. It's hard to tell. I think there are still some bosses up here. But we might... actually, let's go there at the moment and then we'll just jump off, I believe. Let's try that. I think there is a boss right there, if I remember correctly. And again, I'm not participating in this fight, it's just sometimes I right click for just to send them to attack, but I'm not really doing anything, so they're just carrying me right now, basically. And I got double slept, that's nice. I don't know what happened with my hunter though. I didn't see if... I don't know. Alrighty then. Yeah, maybe, yeah, there's not much more to say about the healers. Maybe we should just look at some other class instead. How about that? Because, yeah, the healer is not gonna do anything other than what I said until now. So let's set debug off on the healer. And maybe let's look at the rogue. We'll look at the hunter in a separate video because I need to talk a little bit about the pets. And I don't want to do it now. So let's see what the rogue is doing. Oh, the rogue is sleeping. Of course he is. Sleeping on the job. You see the hunter used Scare Beast there. And I think, you know, some people can argue with it, but I think it's the correct thing to do. Oh, they're also fighting a boss. This is not looking good. Yeah, the healer ran out of mana. I think he used a mana potion. Oh, but the tank got slept. They slept the tank. That's... yeah, that's not gonna go well. Let's try to kill the boss at least. Let's put a focus mark. I don't know if they'll manage or not. It's maybe a little bit too late now. Alright, well, at least they got the boss. Yeah, the hunter died. The pet died, hunter died. Healer is like I said, I don't know. Paladins are kind of struggling in these big pools. It is what it is. But in this is one of those situations like I was talking yesterday. I think you could have made a difference here. Either you could have just played it safe and not just right click. You could have used focus marks here. You could have used CC marks. You definitely had options. Or you could have played yourself and, you know, put out some damage. That would have helped. Used any consumable here. That would have helped as well. But again, I'm just gonna revive them because, yeah, the point is not to emulate walking back to the dungeon. It's to actually see what's going on. But I like the fact that they are not like invincible or yeah, they cannot fail, right? So there's a fail condition there, as you'd expect. Like, don't pull too big, or don't pull too big and don't have any plan for it. Like, if you're gonna do big pulls, at least know what you're doing. Use some bombs potentially. Like, if I had bombs, that would have made a difference. Well, I have bombs if I had used them. And maybe we can even try to do it just to see what happens. But let's look at a little bit at the rogue. So the rogue is, as you'd expect, he's going to slice and dice. I think he is looking for at least 2 combo points before he slice and dices. He also, I wrote some calculations for eviscerates, and well, rogue gave me a lot of trouble because I had to figure out all his finishing moves, and I had to do a lot of calculations to see how much damage they deal, because later on they get Envenom and they have some other juicy poops as well. So I had to figure out when is he going to use each and every one of these, and we'll talk about rogue some other time more in depth. But like on an overview, he's probably gonna use eviscerate as long as he has slice and dice up. So slice and dice is kind of the top on his priority list there for finishers, for combo spenders, let's say. So once he's got slice and dice, then he goes down the list and he'd be like, yeah, what else can I do? Can I do eviscerate? And to use eviscerate, he's trying to either have 5 combo points, or he's looking at how much damage does eviscerate do, and he's calculating the whole shebang, right? He knows exactly how much damage, like, well, when I say exactly, he cannot truly know exactly how much eviscerate does. Here's why. I don't know if I have any spell to show you. Paladin is kind of a bad example of this. Yeah, it's truly a bad example. Actually, no, because I can just look at this. Perfect. Okay, so here's why he cannot truly know, like with 100%, even though the calculations are 100% correct, like, trust, but he cannot truly know how much is he actually going to do, because when he launches the spell, the damage is calculated at when you launch the spell, right? And you see this range here, 124, 138. This is like you're rolling a dice. You cannot truly know. So what he's doing is that he's presuming that he would always do 138, right? For the sake of his logic. And why is he doing this instead of 124? Because the difference is very small. And if he would hesitate, let's say he would take 124 into calculation, and he'd be like, no, I don't have enough damage to kill the target, then he would miss the opportunity, and the damage is so small that basically any auto attack either coming from him or anybody else would kill the target, right? So yeah, it would be just a waste. It would just be a waste. So instead, he's just gonna look at, okay, what's the actual maximum potential damage can I do to the target? He's going to look at armor. He's calculating how much armor the target does dynamically. He knows exactly. He factors all that in. He's like, yeah, this is with Swiss precision how much damage my Eviscerate is gonna do at taking into account the max range here, and he's going to use that. Or he has 5 combo points, whichever one of those. And he does the same with Envenom and yeah, a whole bunch of other stuff. It was really annoying to calculate all of this because it's not obvious in the way it works. It's not like there's some, I don't know, some one function in the core that does all of this. Is very, very spread apart how all these calculations work in the core, and the formulas are all over the place, and yeah, good luck trying to find them. I spent a lot of time, and they don't all work the same. Like for example, Eviscerate works very differently than something like Envenom when it takes into account the stacks of deadly poison on the target, takes into account the combo points. Yeah, it's kind of convoluted, but yeah, I try my best to calculate this, because you have to figure out, for example, when is he going to use one or the other, right? And I looked on the internet, I searched a lot, I watched videos. How do I know when to use Eviscerate? How do I know when to use Envenom? I have no idea. No one knows anything, and you look at on the internet and everybody's giving you anecdotal evidence, like, ah, yeah, I use it because, oh my god, look how big crits I'm doing. That doesn't mean anything, right? I cannot use that for decision making, right? So I have to actually calculate and see how much is he actually doing. And yeah. Oh, but speaking of Envenom, the rogue is not actually poisoning his weapons. It's probably one of the reasons why I avoided going for assassination even more, because he's not poisoning the weapons by default. Why is that? Why am I such an evil person that I didn't give him oils or poisons by default? Because I expect you to sharpen your weapons. Because all the classes, all the roles, they have their own sharpening poops, right? So you can have sharpen weapons, you can have poison, you can have oils, you can have yeah, mana oils, wizard oils, all the oils, poops, right? So I expect you to actually do something about it, because actually to craft poisons and to have poisons, yeah, I would even call that an even more difficult process than getting some cheap sharpening stones. Obviously it's going to take into account the, let's say, the rank of this, so don't expect to use rough sharpening stones and he's gonna use elemental stones or something like that's not a thing, right? But he is, I mean, they do have a level requirement, so if you do it the other way around, like you use sharpening stones because you're level 50 and maybe the bot is level 10, I don't expect him to use elemental sharpening stone. He's gonna use yeah, probably coarse sharpening stones or whatever poisons. But nonetheless, if you have a rogue in the group, you absolutely should consider sharpening your weapon, because they're not gonna apply poisons by default, and I think it's at level 20 they get poisons. Yeah, so you look at this and you see that Leonidas here has sharpened both his main hand and his offhand. Everybody else did as well. The healer used minor wizard oil, that's great. So he gets poisons at level 20. Until then he just gets, he has these poopy poops. I think this is the last boss, they're supposed to come here. So it's very important that you sharpen your weapons. And I'm purposefully doing this because I think, again, crafting poisons is even more annoying than crafting sharpening stones. All you need to craft these is just have some stones, have some cloth, and off you go, like you're good. Like these are very, very easy to make, so there's no reason for you to have it. And it's also part of the reason why I didn't want to go for assassination spec, because that one makes use of poisons, and I expect people to be people and not actually bother too hard with sharpening, or they may not even know that this is happening and they don't use poisons unless you sharpen your own weapons. So I thought it's a little bit unfair to punish you for something that you're not truly aware of. If you're playing with the combat spec, it's kind of whatever. Like, yeah, the poisons just deal a little bit of extra damage. But if you're playing with the assassination spec, you really are trying to make use of poison. So I just thought that overall it's not a good pair for the companions. Actually, the hunter, what did the hunter do? The hunter also used sharpened blade. Later on, I think the hunter is applying, or he should be applying, some stuff for his gun, for his range weapon. I think he may not have it at this level, but he definitely should be using some range poopy sense as well. So had I sharpened the weapons from the very beginning, maybe the rogue would have done just slightly more damage. You see, it's all these little things that start to add up, right? And they do matter, because you swing your weapon long enough with that sharpened poop, and it just probably would have been within 5%, which is my comfort zone. But again, Hunter's doing great as usual. You can see that the pet is doing 21% of the Hunter's damage, on top of the fact that he's growling, and if we look at damage taken, but we also split, you see that he's, well, not as much as the pet from yesterday, but he's still doing something. I mean, this is not to be neglected. He's trying to peel and to keep aggro and make sure that the mobs are not attacking some squishy and some such. Alright, so that's the rogue. I don't think he's got any other juicy bits we could talk about. So yeah, it's pretty simple. He may have some other poops. I think he's gouging sometimes. I think gouge only works on humans, maybe, I'm not sure. He's also using Thistle Tea. So the tanks will use Stone Shield Potion. The warrior DPS will use Rage Potion. The rogues will use Thistle Tea, and I have to give the other guys, the other DPS guys, some other potions. I think there's some haste potions or something in TPC. I have to look into that some more. Again, all of these have a let's say opportunity cost, because if you use these, you cannot use mana or healing potions as well. So yeah, it's kind of a big deal, but he's not going to use it like willy-nilly. He used it in that previous fight when we were fighting like 5+ enemies, and that's one of his conditions. There have to be like a lot of enemies, right? So when you have to fight a lot of enemies, you better make sure to go all out, just to make sure that you know, you can get the job done. So he's not going to use the powerful stuff just at any time whatsoever. He's trying to be a little bit frugal with them, and not just him, but everybody, really. So a lot of these long cooldown powerful spells, they'll have conditions like that, where I say, hey, you need to make sure you're fighting 3 enemies, 5 enemies, 10 enemies, whatever. You have to make sure you use it in a time where it really matters. Or you're fighting a boss, that's also a good time. Yeah, I think this dungeon would have been better at level 20, just so they have a few more spells. I'm not sure when the paladins get cleansed, but maybe it's at 20. Just so we can see them dispelling sleeps and all the jazzes. It's a little bit annoying at the moment. I guess what we could try... okay, so I think we're... Okay, so... he's also using Kick. So all the companions are coordinating when they're using interrupts, just like many other things. For example, if you have a rogue who can kick, if you have a warrior who can shield bash or pummel, if you have a mage who can counter a spell, they look to see if anybody else in the group, including yourself, including real players, if anybody else is casting that, so they don't try to like all do it at the same time, right? So they, even if it's two rogues trying to figure out if they should kick, even if it's like different classes or stuff like that, then yeah, they try to coordinate and they try to do it one at a time, and it does work out as well. And it's part of the reason why raids work, actually, because if they didn't do this, then yeah, they'll all just kick at the same time because of the way the logic is being executed. Well, I say at the same time, it would be within like 100 milliseconds of each other, but for the purpose of the spells actually going out, even the spells going out is the same thing, but it would be like within, like, let's say within the same heartbeat or within the same window of operations, which would make it seem like they're all doing it instantly at the same time, even though it's not technically true, but it just works out that way, and it's not good. So, alright, I guess we looked at the rogue. Let's just set debug off. Let's look at the hunter, I guess, just to see what he's doing. And yeah, you're not surprised he's doing auto shots and multi shots, and like I said in a previous video yesterday, they are trying to respect the auto shot a lot. It may seem like he's casting twice. He's not actually casting twice, it's just the debug messages going out twice for technical reasons. But oh, I wanted to mention that the pet is also saying what he's casting. You see, a pet is saying lightning breath, so the pet will tell you what he's casting all the time as well, which is very nice to keep track of that. You can't really see the talents that he has and his spells, but you can infer from just looking at the debug window, right? You can, by the way, like the set debug on and off, this is a player command. You can do it as well, even on vanilla, so it's not something new. It's always been this way for years, so you have access to this information. And you can see the pet is using growl, he's using bite, and actually I had the pets, so all the pet spells have logic the same the way the companions do, so I wrote logic for all of them, just because I wanted to make sure that everything works correctly. And in specific, what I did over, well, let me explain to you first of all how would toggling on spells work, right? So you may be asking, why didn't I just toggle on the spells and let them do it? Well, because the way toggle on works is the pet would look at all the spells he has toggled on, and he would choose to cast one of them at random, right? Whichever one. So it's like you don't know, right? You don't know if he's going to growl, you don't know if he's going to bite, you don't know if he's going to do anything else. It's just random. And I don't think random is like ideal. Oh, and you see the rogue has starting to catch up with the hunter just because he sharpened his weapons. I'm telling you guys, all of these things matter. They're not, you know, they're not there for nothing, right? I'm just saying. All of the, like, Blizzard did a good job calculating this, so it, I don't know. Anyway, that was a parenthesis. Moving on. The pet, it has logic, and I tried to pull his abilities. So, for example, he's not gonna cast bite. Bite is like at the very bottom of his rotation, and first what he's trying to do is he's trying to make sure at the top of his rotation is growl, so there's some logic for growl, how to use growl and stuff like that. Right, try not to compete with the tanks and things like that, even though he uses quite a lot, because I have explained yesterday, growl is not a taunt, it's an actual ability that adds threat, and if you don't use it often, then you'll be so far behind that when you actually need it, right, then it's going to be basically impossible to get aggro off of whomever it is you're trying to get aggro off of. So that's why he has to use it pretty frequently and quite a lot. And also, like, let's say for example that oh, of course, all the towns, like including Growl and everything, they check to see if the target can be taunted and has a threat list, because not some monsters are immune to this stuff. So there's that to mention. I'm not sure which way I'm supposed to go, to be honest. This dungeon is... I'm not an expert in this dungeon. Or any other dungeon, really. Okay, let's go upside. Maybe there's something up here. So let's say, for example, that the pet growls enough that it pulls aggro off of the tank. That's still fine, because the tank can then taunt off him and gain a threat lead over everybody else, right? So that's still a good thing. I think in raids or something like... I think in raids I told the pets not to growl, just because there you actually need to control the fights and you need to know what you're doing, so you cannot taunt willy-nilly, cannot just mess around. But in general situation, he should probably be growling quite often. Or often enough, or at least, you know, check to see who the mob is fighting, and if he's not fighting a tank, then maybe you should growl, right? But yeah, he pulls focus to make sure he always has a focus for growl. And then he prioritizes stuff like his special abilities, like lightning breath or whatever, fiery breath or whatever poopy sense they have. And then at the end, he's like, yeah, if I really have the rage for everything else, or not rage, the focus for everything else, then maybe you can use bite. And he's got sometimes some other abilities depending on their talent builds and their family. Sometimes they may have things like utility spells, which are also at the top, like Screech, which debuffs the enemies and things of that nature. Oh, this is a boss type, so it's a good thing I came this way. One thing that we changed, and maybe not a lot of people agree with, but I don't care. We made all the bosses in dungeons, we tagged them as rare. And the final boss in the dungeon, we tagged them as rare elite. And there's a reason why we did that for the companion logic, because I had to be able to differentiate, like I said earlier, when are they going to use their big abilities, when they're going to use their big 5-minute, 10-minute, 30-minute cooldowns. Like say, for example, warriors have recklessness, which has a 30-minute cooldown. And when are you going to use that? Are you just going to use it on every single pack of mob that you encounter? Are you going to use it on just random bosses? No, you should probably keep that for either raid bosses or for the final boss in a dungeon, right? Because all these other guys, you see how easy it is. If you think of something like in the Dead Mines against what's his face, the rogue dashing guy. The name eludes me at the moment. The final boss in Dead Mines, right? He's a lot tougher than the previous guys, so you definitely want to keep like very strong abilities and cooldowns to fight him. But you also want to use like good abilities against normal bosses as well, just not the best abilities. Like don't go using a 30-minute recklessness on this little fairy fire boss over there, that fairy dragon, whatever. Right? That's no point. But at the final boss, like you know the final boss in Wailing Caverns, the big fish type of deal. Yeah, like that guy's pretty tough. So against him, you should definitely go all out. Or if you're fighting some kind of raid boss or something of that nature. So that's why we had to rank the bosses a little bit differently, because they weren't ranked at all. Dungeon bosses were basically tagged just as normal elites, and there was no way internally to know that, hey, that's an actual boss or things like that. So we had to make this change just so we can improve the companion logic. You see the hunter is also using Mend Pet on the on his pet, because the companions will not heal companion pets for the same reason they won't heal other companions, just because it's a waste of mana. So the hunters can heal their own pets out of combat. Warlocks, I don't really know what the logistics is there. I guess we're gonna have to look at it, but I think they cannot heal. They probably just regen a lot of life. I'm not sure. We'll see when we get to Warlocks. I haven't really tested too much in this matter, but I have thought about it. Not sure if there's some boss around here. Yeah, there's a boss over here. I don't remember if you need to kill like all of the guys in this dungeon, all the bosses in the dungeons before you can do the final quest. We may not do it because I don't remember if you need a quest for it. The escort of the druid, where you go and summon the fishy poops. I guess we'll have to see at that time. You can see that the healer is in melee range attacking the boss, and you may not always want that to happen. And I guess I forgot to talk about it. Like, look, for example, well, I guess in this time when he's fighting boss, he's just healing a lot. Oh, that wasn't an upgrade for anybody. Sad. I forgot to tell you about how this melee attacking thing works, and I'm gonna show you I'm gonna show it to you shortly. Okay, so say for example, you see the healer went to the melee range to attack, but watch what happens when I move away, right? And now he's coming after me, right? So what happens if you're within 10 yards of whatever victim the group is attacking, then he will come and try to attack said victim. But as soon as you move away, like this, he's gonna come back after you. So you can use this to your advantage. You can alternatively just come stay him somewhere. I don't know. Like, you'll have to figure this out. It's just that you see he's still doing a 6% damage. And yeah, every little bit helps. If he were level 20, he'd be consecrating as well. So that's definitely nice. And again, I staggered his heal, so it's not gonna let you die while he's consecrating or something like that. No, first he's gonna look to see if there's anybody who needs to get healed, who's below 75% HP, and then he's gonna look at other things to do, like dispelling some stuff, or whatever poopies and else is there. So the hunters, when they auto shot, or rather when they try to use their other abilities, they try to look to see not to interrupt their auto shot, right? That's probably why he's doing so much damage, because I paid a lot of attention to make sure this happens. As in, he, like within half a second before auto shot can be used again, he has like a window where you cannot do anything. You need to let him stand still so he can get his auto shot, the next auto shot off, to let them chain together. Because if you interrupt them, then you need to recast auto shot, and what happens when you do that, then you still need to wait this half a second. So if you keep interrupting him, then for each cast of auto shot you basically add half a second to the delay. So that'll be a pretty significant loss to the DPS, and I think that's actually how it works on the vanilla, which is why maybe the hunters are not doing as great. But I spent a lot of time on TPC trying to understand exactly, well, I know how it works like in real life, but believe me, in the code is to say that it's very strange and confusing would be an understatement. Trust me, with a lot of these things, it's very, very obfuscated, let's say, and it's not clear, it's not obvious at all, especially if you're not used to the core and stuff like that. But the end result, I'm happy with it. He is, as you can see, like you have it on record, he's been top DPS in all of these dungeons. So yeah, what can I say? The proof is in the pudding, so to speak. Maybe you can skip these guys. They're all kind of irrelevant, maybe. I guess they're gonna fight. I mean, they are kind of high level. Okay, so if you see the hunter going like that, you can just pull him back a little bit, I suppose, and he'll just go the other way. I don't know. I guess it kind of depends on you if you want to deal with that or not. To me, it's not a big deal just because, I don't know, what he provides to the group is just very valuable. So, yeah, the tank got screwed. Yeah. Right, so like I said yesterday, the tank is like his first priority is trying to get the ads who are not tanked off of whomever they're attacking, right? So that's his number one thing. His number two thing is to try to spread his threat evenly among the guys here. I tried to make him prioritize healers and squishy targets first and to try to peel off for them. It works, but I have to mention another thing. So I added another piece of logic that said, hey, don't, if you're already attacking a target that is not tanked, you should keep attacking that one. Why did I do that? And why did you see, for example, here that they wiped here, and I'm talking, so let's abort this. Why did, for example, he went for this snake and then he went back for the hunter or whatever? Because, well, whatever, at some point he decided the snake was the most important one, and as long as he had that snake as a victim and that snake was not being tanked by anybody, he was adamant into trying to get the snake off of. What would happen if I didn't have this logic and I would just tell him, hey, get the closest guy all the time? Well, the problem is he would just keep switching targets all the time, and he might even switch targets like midway through getting to some mob. Like, yeah, I'm going to the snake. Oh no, now this other snake is close. Oh no, now this other snake is close. No, this other guy is close, right? So he would just ping pong between the monsters here. So that would be a pretty significant problem, which is why a lot of the time you'll just see him like for example right now he's going after this, and maybe let's say this guy also started attacking, but he already committed to this other guy. And another thing that I noticed, which is a little bit strange to me, but if say he goes and stuns a target, like I think this is more like an internal thing. So let's say this guy attacks the healer and the tank comes and stuns and then taunts the target. The target only acknowledges that he has changed aggro on somebody else after he comes out of the stun, which is why sometimes when you may see that, oh, he stunned this, why is he still attacking this target? Well, because it needs the creature needs to come out of the stun to confirm that, yeah, I'm attacking somebody else. I could just say, hey, if the target is stunned, then ignore him, go pick some other target off. But here's the problem. Everything has kind of a caveat and a counter problem to it, so it's not so obvious. You could stun a target and you could say, look, the target is stunned, go somewhere else. But that target, once he comes out of the stun, he could still attack the old, let's say the healer, right? He could still be attacking the healer. And then the tank would be like, oh, now I need to go back to this guy and try to get him again. Maybe he stuns him again. And it's like, oh, he's stunned. Let me go back. And then he comes out of the stun. Oh, now I need to pick him up again. So he would just do this back and forth again. So I don't know. If you're a real player, obviously the Siri is not gonna, some AI is not gonna listen to me. So yeah, you yourself as a player can definitely make better decisions and smarter decisions, but it's difficult for the bots without any kind of situational awareness to kind of have a broad understanding of to see the big picture, right? They can't see the big picture. They just try to make sense. Well, they can see it, let's say. It's not even their problem in a sense. It's really more like a limitation that I have as a programmer rather than them doing something wrong. Because ultimately I could commit enough time and resources for them to indeed get the big picture and try to optimize this even more. But there's the question of, is it worth the time and resources spent on doing this? I don't know. Maybe not. Because to some degree, you have autonomy. Well, to some degree, to a big degree, you have your own autonomy. And you can use commands to kind of get them to do whatever you want, including you can give a focus mark to the tank, and the tank right now has a diamond focus mark. And if you, let's say if I wanted the tank to go attack this other guy right here, I would just focus mark him over there, and boom, as you see, he went and attack it. So you can make the difference, really, if you really pay attention, you know what you're doing, and you understand the benefit of these focus and CC marks. You can certainly influence the way the fights go to quite a large degree. So I do expect you and players in general to so again, when you're just questing, I don't think it matters at all. You can just right click everything and it should work most of the time, unless you're again pulling some big pack of mobs or whatever. But once you start getting into dungeons, I really do expect you to start fiddling with these commands and look at focus marks, look at CC marks, what do they do, how to use them properly, and try to make the most out of them. That's why, yeah, I don't want to give them more logic. I just want to like create the tools and to facilitate, you know, for you to be able to control the companions just a little bit better. And I think with the current tools is quite enough. You can do quite a lot with them already, so it's not like that much more is needed. Of course, when we're talking about raids and very specific fights and mechanics and stuff like that, I mean, yeah, you cannot overcome that with commands or whatever. In situations like that, like with Kel'Thuzad or Cthulhu or whatever, there you actually do need scripting for the boss to be able to do it, because, you know, otherwise it's just not possible. Alright, the problem is I don't really know if there's... Oh, look at that. Oh, this is a perfect example, everybody. You remember earlier that I was saying that, you know, they start with maces and they go for mace specialization, but if they find a dagger that's better, right, and this is a level 17 dagger, and like he should replace this offhand, basically. Or maybe his main hand, I'm not 100% sure. There you go. You could even argue, you know what, let me put it on the to-do list. After Rogue gets a weapon upgrade, sort them out by alpha damage, right? In the same way as they do when they're being initialized, because in this situation he should put the dagger in the main hand because the alpha damage on the dagger is higher, which means when he's using Sinister Strike or Backstab or whatever he's doing. And actually, if he had the dagger in the main hand, he would be using Backstab instead of Sinister Strike, like he currently is, as you can see. So that's something to consider as well. I don't remember if there are still bosses this way. I think if you jump over... Can you jump here? You cannot jump. Okay, then on we go. Maybe we find the end eventually. Oh, I just saw one of these snakes get CC'd. That was... that's a conversation for another day. I mean, it kind of seems strange. They definitely should not be doing that. But But it's not so simple. As usual, it's just not so simple. We can have that discussion when we get to Stratholme, maybe. It's definitely some caveat to this whole thing. But I think I have to consider more about the critters. The critters are kind of confusing me in a way about what I should do about them. But yeah, you can see the rogue has caught up to the hunter a lot more because of the enchants. Oh, and also he got this dagger now, so now the dagger is really badass. You saw the hunter doing a multi-shot against this one single target, and it's actually correct. The reason why multi-shot is so strong is because it actually applies the weapon damage or something like that, so even though ideally you'd want to use it on multiple enemies, doing it on a single target is still good. And maybe at some point we can talk about how about AoEs and how AoEs, when do they know how to use AoEs, for example? And do they consider if the target is stunned or if the target is CC'd and stuff like that? And they absolutely do, but I've even made more changes to this recently, and I'm not 100% sure about them. I'm still considering things, you can say. But ideally, like, okay, so before the hunter would shoot his multi-shot, he actually does look to see where does the multi-shot chain to. So he actually does know that, right? But there's he knows that, and he looks at those targets and he looks to see if one of them has a breakable CC, like a polymorph or whatever, right? So polymorph types. And if he does, then he's not gonna use it. However, there's, let's say, a caveat to this, because from the moment he checks to see if he can use the multi-shot and he activates it, right? Because multi-shot has, I think, like half a second cast time, on top of the fact that he has the projectile itself has a travel time. So it's perfectly possible for the mobs to move after he has casted multi-shot, in which case he could potentially hit a target that is crowd control or who is CC marked, which is a problem. So yeah, there's a discussion I suppose we can have about that one. I'm not 100% sure. I can fix this. The reason why I didn't do it yet, or I'm hesitant to do it, is because fixing this would involve spending more resources for them to calculate more things. Oh, everybody's asleep? Cool. And now they're attacking me? Cool. And now I'm asleep too. Great. Yeah, this is a nasty dungeon. You could, for example, you can use CC marks, and maybe we should do that. Just, I don't know, I think it's the Druids of the Fang who are applying the sleeps, yeah. So we absolutely can do a couple of things here. We can, first of all, prioritize killing them, or we can, we can apply CC marks to just keep them preoccupied, to deny them from doing sleep. So there are certainly options. Maybe we'll do this on the next pack. But yeah, about the CC thing, this is only about in the case of chain spells. So things like multi-shot, which is a chain, cleave is a chain lightning is a chain. Yeah, stuff like this. So it only affects stuff like this. And I think multi-shot more than the other ones, because something like chain lightning has, well, it has a cast time though, right? Because it has like 3 seconds or so cast time, so it's pretty long. And again, he only checks to see if it's correct to use it before he casts it, but not during the cast itself. So yeah, but during or before the cast, he does correctly figure out where that spell is going to chain. And if you have experience yourself as a player, you can actually deduce the same thing yourself with the hunter and with the chain guy because it chains usually to the closest enemy to... It tends to chain to the closest targets, right? So you can absolutely, with enough experience, be able to tell that for yourself as well. It's just that probably you would not risk it if you know, hey, we're gonna break, we might potentially break a CC, so we might as well just not risk using it just to avoid doing that. So I don't know. It's, again, as with many of the other things, is very debatable. To get them over ledges like this, because you see they don't know how to do it, you either do come, stay, come, toggle, whichever. I actually eventually, yeah, I wrote a function where they figure out if they can't pathfind to you, after some time they just teleport to you. So there's that. Okay. You know what? Let's put a CC mark on this guy. I mean, they don't really have a lot of CCs at this point, but later on they will, so they'll be more efficient with it. One thing I should mention perhaps is that they don't actually go out of their way to CC, so even though, for example, the rogue would gouge or something, he's not gonna walk over there and do it, and things like that. Mainly because you have autonomy, or not autonomy, you have control over their movement. So I'm kind of also expecting you to figure out some of these issues and find a solution for them, so you have something to do, you know. Alright, I think this is the last boss. And maybe we can do that escort poopy thing afterwards. I see this guy's level 20, so let me use some consumables because I'm not sure if they can handle it. Especially the last boss, I know he's pretty tough. This is a Guardian Elixir, so when I use the Lesser Agility Potion, you can see... hold on. This one requires level 18. Oh, they did use it, correct. Okay, it's correct. Correct. Again, these guys don't have a choice. It's not like they have that... they don't have that many options. So when you use a Guardian Elixir, they're supposed to use a Guardian Elixir as well, so you can see they used... Elixir of Fortitude. This guy used armor, that's fine. We sharpened the weapon earlier. We can use some of these engineering ones don't have a level requirement. What we can do is just use like solid dynamite or something like that, or a heavy dynamite. I'm not sure what's more appropriate. And just throwing one dynamite out there will make them unlock it as well, but they'll do it when they come out of combat. So when they come out of combat, I kind of expect them to say, hey, I've unlocked this and whatever. Yeah, these guys are a little bit tougher now because they're higher level. What can you do? I guess we can also use a scroll. Why not? Oh, we can probably also use food. Why not? Let's try to buff them up real good. See if they can handle it. Hold on. Strangely enough, they did not say that they have unlocked the dynamite. Let me throw another one. Strange. I'll add it to my to-do list here. Check dynamite unlocking when used in combat. I'm confused as to why they didn't do it. I expected them to do it. Let me reset cooldowns. Let's try a... Okay, I'm confused about that one. So it's not related to combat. Or maybe check heavy dynamite. Dynamite with level 18 companions. I'm not sure what the heck, but I'm gonna look into it and you'll know in the next video. But it's a good thing that I used it, eh? Let's also eat some food. And they ate some food as well. You see they got some stamina. They're not gonna get any of the special types of food. They'll just get the stamina food, which is good enough. Let's do a pull here. Not a stop, a pull. So what I like to do is I do a pull and I kind of wait for the tank to get in there and maybe throw a couple of abilities in, like a Sunder, and then start the companions in this order. Alright, well, that was that. Another staff. Nobody can use staffs in my group. I don't remember where there was like an exit. Oh, it's here. Let me come toggle them just so they actually follow me here. Well, they would follow me anyway because, yeah, they would just teleport eventually. And let's go back to the entrance to see if we can do the escort quest. If not, we'll just end it here. We have plenty of... we covered a lot of things. We even went over the rest of the classes. I guess it was a long dungeon, so might as well just talk about them. And maybe next time we just do the next dungeon. And we'll just kind of briefly go over... yeah, the classes that we're using. Because I think at this point I kind of did a preview of the general logic of what each role is supposed to be doing. So there's no need to cover those, which means we don't need to talk as much about some of this stuff. Ah, all right. There you go, everybody. I guess we're also doing the event. Here's something cool. You can... let's say we put this and we give the healer the focus mark to Diamond, and what I expect the healer to do is to actually heal this guy if he takes any damage. We'll see. That's what I want him to do and I expect him to do, and that's how it works on vanilla at least, but I don't know. I guess we'll find out. There should be some raptors spawning around here. I'm curious to see if they can handle the final boss even at level 18. I mean, they probably should. Obviously, if you're running this with a competent group of people, mind you, they're not going to react to the NPC getting attacked, right? So don't expect that to happen because he's not part of the group, so they don't care. So in this case, you need to order them yourself or to attack yourself for them to react. Even though I can see that he's not healing the guy, but he didn't really go too low HP, so still keeping an eye on it. But I definitely want that to happen. If it doesn't happen, I'll test it off screen and see if I can get that to work, because yeah, obviously it should work. But again, the healer could be waiting for 75%, most likely. So we're gonna see if that's the case or not. I did correctly focus mark him, right? Yes. Skull and diamond, apparently. There should be some of them spawning here. Hey, look at that, everybody. We have leveled up. Right, so what you can do now is you can go to any trainer like I showed you yesterday, and they would learn their next talent. If you want to keep these companions, maybe you'll do another dungeon, or who knows what you're doing. Oh, we missed the shoulders, everybody. Oh, hold on, because we forgot about the guy. Yeah, look at this shoulder upgrade right now. Wow, look at this rogue. He had like a level 15 poopy shoulder, and he got this super badass agility shoulder. Damn, that is very cool. And again, if you haven't watched the previous episode, they calculate stat weights. So they assign like a weight to all the stats that they care about, including a little bit of armor, because armor is important as well. And they just compare the numbers. They add it all together and they compare the numbers, and that's how you get this plus 776. That's relatively speaking how much better he considers in terms of, let's say, stat weights and value relative to the other one. Of course, they both are applying the same stat weights, and he's like, yeah, this one's so much better, bro. Yeah, I won this one. I see Nora equipped it as well. Interesting. So I guess they don't really... I mean, obviously, this guy should be using mail, but apparently I didn't put any restrictions in there, so he equipped a leather, but they do factor in armor in this. So they're like, yeah, in spite of it not being a mail piece, I have it maybe less armor, but I'm not sure if it actually had it did slightly less, right? So even though it had less armor, just the fact that it has agility, and agility is extremely important for tanking, he's like, yeah, I just like this other one with agility, give it to me. Hunters absolutely love agility, so hunters are all about agility. Alright, let's try to see if we can get this event done. Ah, you can see them starting to use bombs. See them throwing bombs. It's just a bit of extra goodness. I'm not sure why the hunter is not shooting anymore. Maybe it's a line of sight thing, I'm not sure. There's definitely some pathing issues, that's for sure. bombs away. Yeah, those bombs are definitely helping out in this situation. So it's a good idea to bring the bombs.
Attack over here.
Yeah, the healer is not gonna attack anymore when fighting a boss. He's just gonna heal all the time, which I think is better. I mean, his 5% damage there is not irrelevant, but I think here I just want people to stay alive better. He bubbled himself because he got stunned, that's why. You can see they're using mana potions, the hunter did. Alrighty then, that's it everybody. Cool ring, nobody wanted it. We saved the guy, we cleared the dungeon, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.